Okay guys, we're in the Montenotte Hotel in the beautiful County Cork. We're here today to interview Ray Houghton for episode 1 of Sitdown with Seamus. Just want to give a quick mention to our two sponsors. Our first sponsor is the Montenotte Hotel. Perfect place for a couple escape this summer. They have a cinema, bar, restaurant and beautiful views overlooking Cork City. Our second sponsor is the Anbrook House Hotel in Mullingar, County of Westmeath. Make sure you check out montenottehotel.ie for deals in the Montenotte and www.anbrook.ie for deals in the Anbrook in Mullingar, County Westmeath. Let's welcome on our guest, the man, the myth, the legend, Ray Houghton. Welcome to Sit Down with Seamus. We are here with the man, the myth, the legend. Ray Houghton is here. How are you, Ray?
Yeah, I'm good, thanks.
Good. We're in the Montenotte Hotel in beautiful County Cork. Ray is doing a gig tonight with Liverpool legend Peter Beardsley in the in the Cork Opera House. And you looking forward to that, Ray?
Yeah.
Not the Sydney
Go back to your roots. Go back to your roots, isn't it?
Not the Sydney Opera House, the Cork Opera House. We're here to talk to Ray about his career in an Ireland shirt, in a Liverpool shirt. I know Ray played for Oxford, played for Aston Villa as well, played for Crystal Palace, played for Fulham, and then in non-league, a little small stint in non-league before.
You missed one. You missed one.
Hold on. Fulham.
No.
Oh.
The first one.
West Ham.
Hey, you got there.
This is going to need severe editing. I thought I was doing well
Yeah,
there.
you were.
But anyways, so we're going to talk about this first picture on the screen. So you might remember this moment in your life.
Yeah, I'll tell you what, it looks like a lot more fans there when you're looking at the picture of it.
Jam-packed. So this is Stuttgart, 1988?
Yeah, 1988. Just in the build-up to the game, I remember Jack took us out and he was naming the team, and I got to say that Jack was very upbeat about us beating England. I don't think there was many outside of Ireland who would have gave us a chance, and I don't think there was many in Ireland who gave us a chance either. Typical of England, not only were they going to beat us, but they were one of the favourites for the tournament.
Yeah.
Going into it, when you look at the team that they had, the squad that they had, everyone thought that they were going to be the ones to beat. So we knew it was going to be a tough game, but we knew them. We knew all the England players.
Played against them regularly.
Played against them, at league level for a different size that we played in. And what people tend to forget, Seamus, is if you looked at our starting 11, we had players like Packy Bonner and Chris Morris, Mick McCarthy. They'd all won the double with Celtic in '88.
Yeah.
If you looked at the others, Ronnie Whelan. Well, Ronnie's won everything. When you look at his career at Liverpool, with leagues, FA Cups, League Cups, European Cups as it was, and John Aldrin and I just won the league. Tony Galvin had won, Chris Houghton had won the FA Cup before. That's a bit before. So they had a winning mentality. They knew what it's like to win football matches. So going into that game, we weren't overawed. We knew it was going to be tough, but we knew that if we could be competitive. Yeah,
remember that famous clip? Was it Mick Byrne, or was a certain member of the Irish coaching panel? Was it that famous clip? He goes, "We're going to do them for you today."
Yeah, that was Mick. But Mick was like that every game. He didn't. I wasn't into new with Mick.
It worked out well that day, anyways.
Yeah, well, he got to get one right. He was that's it all the time.
He was definitely right that time.
Yeah, he was. Him and Charlie were two great lads, so they were the ones. Characters. Yeah.
But had you scored many headers in your career before that?
No, and not only that, but I'm often asked what's my favourite goal for Ireland. I didn't score that many. I always say I was an assister of goals rather than a goal scorer.
Somebody has to do that as well.
But this was my first goal for the Republic of Ireland. So you always remember your first in life, don't you? And this certainly was the case for me. It was the first time we'd ever been at a major championship.
Yeah.
We hadn't a clue what we were doing. We didn't. When we flew over, to play this particular match, and obviously we were moving around to Hanover and Gelsenkirchen for the other games that we were involved in, but we hadn't a clue what was going on, and we were going to different venues to do different things.
It
was a great experience, but we were just everything was geared towards this opening match. Playing against the great rivals, which were England, and we were certainly up for that day, and you could tell how much energy and effort we put into the game. I remember afterwards coming off, and the white lips were so dry, from the match itself, and we had nothing left after the match apart from the joy of winning, and You know, that all the media coming around us and all the fans, all the supporters that were still there to celebrate. I mean, they had a fantastic time. Yeah.
And speaking of media, the English media slaughtered the English team after that game, and they got a lot of grief over it. So, and there's like, you know, sometimes English press can be a bit over the top and stuff. Well, but as you said, they were favourites for the tournament.
I think that was the problem.
They expected to win.
Yeah, you know, the expectation with England's always high. That's not the players' fault. That's just what comes from being an England player. You know, they promised so much. You know, they'd been to the World Cup in '86, and you know they lost out to Argentina.
Famous goal.
The famous goal. And the match that they played in. So coming into that, you know, they were, because of the form that they'd shown, they were rightfully, you know, up there as a competitive team. But people tend to, we were under the radar a little bit. People didn't really, you know, judge us as a what they were saying now, an outstanding team. We were a hard-working team that worked for each other. And, you know, it wasn't about individual, it was about 11 players collectively coming together and going out and performing. But I remember with my goal afterwards, so whoever was directing the pictures that day for TV, he went on me initially when they scored, and then if you ever see, he went off him, but it can't be him, and he went on to John Aldridge. So the cameraman was on John Aldridge, the directors obviously told him it was Aldridge that scored, so they left me alone. I'm running over to the side, Ronnie Whelan's coming running over me, and then John's come running towards me, and I think it was then they realised it wasn't John that scored, it was me. So
it was Ray with his first goal for Ireland against England to win us the game.
Yeah, and you're quite right, I didn't score that many goals throughout my career. As far as headers was concerned, but it sat up really nicely, and I'd seen that Peter Shilton was off his line a little bit, so I just went for a bit of a looping header with a bit of power, and it just went over everyone into the far corner. And
it reminds me of Messi's goal in the Champions League final.
I wouldn't go that far now, but it was an important goal. And then
Messi. But it's getting to Euro. When you were speaking, that was our first ever tournament to get to.
Yeah.
Like, we did rely on Scotland had to get a result for us, and I was just reading a story where we were relying on Scotland to I think it was Gary Mackay scored the winner for them to get Ireland into the tournament, but like back then that game wasn't on TV, so I think you found out through a journalist contacting you.
I think it was on the TV in Ireland, but not in England.
Not in England. Sorry,
So I'd obviously gone to Liverpool at the time, so I was in a hotel in Liverpool, and I hadn't moved.
Well, you only moved to them.
I hadn't moved into my house yet. So I was in the hotel, and there was actually an Irish journalist from London who used to come over for Ireland games, rung me up in the hotel room, and I mean, not even CFAX or whatever then back then to see what the scoreline was. And I picked the phone up, and he said, "We've only qualified," and then I'm jumping up and down on the bed. Can't believe, you know, it's actually happened that we're actually going to a major tournament. And he just went round. And I think Packy Bonner actually went to the airport with a crate of champagne to give it to the Scotland team.
Oh, he didn't.
I think he did. I think if you look through, I think you'll find the story is that's what happened. He went out there and gave them a crate of champagne for all the effort that put into that game.
Sometimes you need a bit of luck, don't you, from other teams and other results and things to go your way, and that's what happened. And you got to Euro '88, and I remember hearing a quote from yourself that like you got through the group, and then you played the Netherlands then in Euro '88, and you for a lot of that game you were doing well, and potentially were on the verge of knocking them out. And that, as you said before in interviews, if Ireland had knocked them out, you would have never had your Van Basten volley in the final, or Holland winning the tournament. So Ireland were on the cusp of changing history. We would have never seen one of the best goals of all time if that result had gone. Unfortunately, it didn't go our way.
Well, one of the words that's most underused in football, particular, is luck.
Yeah.
You know, everyone talks about ability. Everyone talks about tactics, work ethic, great coaching, great players, but you need a bit of luck. And certainly in the game against against the Netherlands, they got it. You know, Wim Kief, actually I've met Wim a couple of times on duty when we've been at Champions League, and I still say to him, that header was going wide, and then it's the spin on it, and took it back into the goal. It was incredible the way the ball went in, and you know, then the timing of we'd put so much effort into the three. That was our third game.
Yeah.
Our second game we played against Russia, a game we should have won.
That was draw.
Because we played outstanding that day. If we had VAR, then we would have had at least 2 penalties. absolute nailed-on penalties that weren't given by the officials. But then in the third game, just the heat, and it was our third match in 8 days, I think it was, and we weren't used to playing at that level. As I say, it was our first tournament. So there we were, and I think we were only like 10 minutes or whatever it was away when Keith scored. And we knew then, there was just no coming back for us. But what could have been, what might have been, what should have been, just unfolded in the last few minutes of that game. And, in the end, they go on and did what they did. And you look at the quality of players that they brought through, and the quality that they had was incredible. But it was, for the Irish public, for the Irish players, the Irish supporters that went out there, it was a fabulous tournament.
Yeah, and fond memories, and a Christy Moore song that got created on the back of it as well. Oh, this might bring back a few memories.
Yeah. Well, what a day.
So, what a day. And that was in a hot day as well in New Jersey, Giant Stadium, and against an Italy team that went on to the World Cup final, got only beaten on penalties. They had Roberto Baggio, Signori, who were two of the best on-form players in Europe at the time. And again, Ireland probably under the radar coming into it. Obviously, you had a young Roy Keane in the team as well that played brilliant that day as well. And can you describe that moment and scoring that goal?
Well, first of all, it was the change of tactics because of the personnel that we had. We went with 4 at the back, like normal, but we went with 5 in midfield. Jack played with the one striker, Tommy Coyne, up front, and I think it was to try to nullify the Italians in midfield, not to give them any opportunities to get at our back line. And we done it reasonably well. We put on, once again, it was an absolutely blistering hot day. We put a lot into it. We nullified them for spells. But the quality, and you mentioned the players that they had. They were always going to get one or two chances. Yeah, they all got one or two chances. Baresi was in the team amongst others. Baresi, fabulous player. So from our point of view, we'd got beaten 4 years earlier in the quarterfinals by Italy, and we were a little bit unlucky. We lost the game 1-0 in the quarterfinals of the World Cup, but once again, some of the decisions were questionable in the second half, where we thought we should have got a little bit more out of it penalty-wise, and we didn't. But overall, if I was being brutally honest, I think Italy thoroughly deserved to go through. They were the better team on the night when they beat us. But this occasion, we got the goal early on, and it was strange for me personally, just from a personal point of view, going over to the World Cup in '94. I didn't expect to play. I was Jason McAteer had played in some of the warm-up games, and it looked like Jason was ahead of me. That's how it felt to me. That was what the media was like. A lot of the press was saying about probable teams that would have had Jason on the right-hand side in midfield. But before I went, the doc in Ireland told us a few little things to try and help us to get us acclimatised and ready for the heat over there. And one of them was to go to your local gym, put on your tracksuits and do some running in the sauna. So not only was I in the gym working, I was in the sauna as well, and then you had all different layers of clothing on, and try to just work up a real sweat on me to see what it was like, and it worked for me. I don't know why, it just worked me. So when I went out to Orlando, where we were getting prepared for the opening game, I actually felt good in myself. And it was Kevin Moran, a couple of nights before Jack had named the team. Kevin said to me, "Look," he said, "you've trained really well. I think Jack's going to put you in, and he should put you in." And I said, "Oh, I'm not so sure." And he said, "Yeah, definitely." So Kevin was right. I did what I had to do, got myself in the best possible shape. When the opportunity arose, it was a long ball downfield. Baresi actually played a poor header. I think he tried to cushion it down to one of his players. I anticipated it on my chest, and as I took it to my left-hand side, I was first looking to try to play to Steve Staunton, but Stevie was marked by the fullback on the opposite side of the pitch. And as I turned back, I just looked up and seen the goal, and it just sat up nicely, but it was on my weaker left foot. I'm not renowned for, kicking the ball with my left foot. I can, but, I could. It wasn't a problem, but I wasn't noted for shooting with my left foot. But it just sat up nicely, and everything that had gone on, in the build-up to going out to America, the negativity about myself and whether I was going to play or not, I thought, just hit it. Go on, just try. It doesn't matter. And it's amazing, the thoughts that go through your head when you try the shot. Well, the first thought was it was going over the bar. That was my first instinct. Secondly, when I seen the flight of the ball, I thought the keeper was going to save it. That was my next thought. But then when it hit the back of the net, it was just pure joy. I've not had that for maybe in the 88 game when I was scoring against England, but that one was absolutely huge. You're just a release of pressure, a release of joy. I did something I've never done before, the forward row. I have never done that before in my life.
It made its debut.
Yeah, it made its debut, and that's where it stayed. It never came out again. And after the match, the media asked me why I did it's called a gamble in Birmingham, and I was at Villa at the time, so that's why it came up. I said, why did you do that? And I actually don't remember doing it at that particular time when the press were asking me after the game. I was saying, what are you talking about? I just put my hand up. Because that's the only thing I ever did. I just put my hand up and that was it. But on this occasion, I did what I did. Terry Phelan jumps me, Roy Keane jumps me, all the players are all around me. It's pure joy. But then I went to my family and friends were in the stadium. And occasions like that, when things haven't been going well for you, you look at the people who've done the most to help you through it. And that was my wife Brenda and my mates and my family that were there. So I went over to them to thank them. That was why it was one of my actions afterwards, was to point up to them. I knew where they were, and it was to thank them for all their efforts and what they'd done, putting into helping me to get to play in this particular game.
That's amazing. Yeah, it's an iconic moment, obviously in Irish sport, not just Irish. Yeah,
well, I'm just looking at the picture there. Then you can see there, even where the ball's gone, and my eyes are fixed on the ball and where it's going. You know what I mean?
Yeah, and on that day, a lot of the media were speculating that the Italian-American fans would outnumber the Irish in the stadium, but I think as it turned out, and as it panned out on the day, the Irish were everywhere.
Well, if there was anything but that, we were told it was going to be 75% Italian supporters to 25% Irish. It was the other way around. I think the Irish had bought up every ticket that was imaginable and everyone that they could, and it was a phenomenal noise in the stadium. It was a very small, compact pitch, which really suited us, because that's what we wanted. We wanted to keep it nice and tight, where we can get after the Italians as much as possible. But we rode our luck. There's no doubt they had some chances, as you would imagine, and they got to the finals. So it shows you the quality that was in their team. But to win that game, because I was looking at our record in the World Cup matches that we played in at tournaments. So we played in 2 World Cups. We only won 1. I think we drew 5 and we lost 3. But it just shows you we didn't win many games, but we were hard to play against. And for us to win that particular match was, we won maybe when I played. I know later on 2002 we won more. We did win different. But I'm only saying in my time, the 2 World Cups I played in, we only won 1 of the 9 matches that we played in.
You weren't miles off qualifying for '98 either. You scored in the second leg.
Against Belgium, that was a header as well. So it just shows there you go.
I think Luke Nillis was a great back then for Belgium. It was brilliant. But, unfortunately, we didn't get to participate in 1998 even. If we could move on to the next slide there, lads, when you're ready. Oh. Look at that dashing locks there. That's Tony Cotty next to
well, my old... Tony and I were at West Ham together. I was a little bit older than Tony, but Tony was coming through. It was him and Alan Dickens were the 2 youngsters that were coming through that we knew about.
Great player, Tony.
Yeah, Tony was great. Wow, a great goal scorer. Absolutely phenomenal goal scorer. So this is obviously the final in 1989. After everything that had gone on with Hillsborough. And I'm often asked, what's your favourite game or most important? It's this one. Simple as that. It doesn't matter internationally, domestically. This was the game. Because there was huge pressure on the team going into this match because of what had happened at Hillsborough only a few weeks earlier. And if you'd asked the players, after what had happened to Hillsborough, if you wanted to play the rest of that season, I think to a man they would have said no. There was no intention to play. There was no thoughts about football. We were going to the ground most days, and family and friends of people who'd passed away wanted to come down and just speak to the players, because they knew that was where their loved ones wanted them to be around the stadium, because they were lovers of Liverpool Football Club. And this was an iconic match. I think it was fitting for the city of Liverpool. It was Liverpool-Everton. But it was in a game we knew we had to win. There was no other result. And we tried our best to lose it. Being 1-0 up and then conceding very late on. And then obviously extra time, was absolutely incredible. But as I say, we had to win it. We knew we were going to win it. The only thing missing from that game for me that day was, and it couldn't happen because so many fans run on the pitch, I think it would have only been right because of the city of Liverpool came together. Because it wasn't just Liverpool fans or Liverpool supporters who'd lost loved ones. There was Evertonians as well. There was family who supported Everton who were involved in this as well. And I think it would have been fitting for the city if after the game that both sets of players had just walked around. I know it would have been difficult for the Everton players, but I think for the city that would have been apt. That would have been something visible, something to just show that more than football, that city can come together, and that was the only thing missing from that day.
So you would have that as the best.
That's my number one game. I'm often asked, "What's your best game?" Being a professional when the odds are against you, growing up and being you're trying to become a professional footballer, and you get a lot of setbacks, and then finally you get your chance. When you play your first game, you think this is surreal, this is unbelievable, this is everything that I've dreamt of. And then you go on, you play, you win the league, you win the FA Cup. You go and represent your country. You play international football. You play at the World Cup. All massive, but this game, because of what happened at Hillsborough, for me is the standout game. Everything emotionally. I'm not a very emotional person in football. I would try to keep my focus on the game itself, but that day was just pure emotion.
Totally understandable. If we can move on to the next one there, lads, when you're ready. Now there's another iconic figure in Irish, not just Irish football but Irish sport, Jack Charlton. And can you just maybe talk to me a bit about Jack and just your memories of Jack? And obviously, he transformed Irish football in a lot of ways, because he got us to the first tournament in '88, and you had 1990. I believe the squad got to meet the Pope in 1990 as well. And then obviously you had 94, and then he kind of manages through the qualifying campaigns for 92 and 96 as well.
We just missed out against the Dutch, didn't we, in the playoff in 1996.
Exactly. Anfield, wasn't it? Just to speak a bit about Jack, and unfortunately a few years back Jack passed away, but God rest him, he's an iconic figure in Irish sport.
We're looking at a picture of Jack, and that's obviously from the quarter-final against Italy. It looks like it anyway. Just looking at the stadium, and he's out there. We mustn't forget Maurice Setters. Maurice is with him. Maurice was his number 2 throughout Jack's tenure as manager, and they were a couple, that was it. They were together all the time. And Jack was the leader, there's no doubt about it. What I'd say about Jack, and there's very few people I've met in my sporting life that when they walk in the room, everyone takes notice. There's something that extra special. There's an aura about, they're in the room. There's someone that's got a bit of gravitas about them has walked in, and Jack was that person. He's loud. he was boisterous. He was funny, but he knew the game. People would question, tactically what he was like, but he knew the game. He knew what he wanted. He's very dogmatic on what he wanted. There were certain areas you could play and certain areas you couldn't play, and he learned very quickly to do what he wanted. Otherwise, he wouldn't be in the team, and that wasn't always going to be great. But he was a fabulous man. Very talented in what he wanted. You must remember he was a World Cup winner. He'd won with Leeds United. He knew what the winning mentality was. But he was, as an ex-player, he knew how players thought. Not everyone, but he knew when to give you a bit of time to yourselves, when to step back, when to come in. He knew everything about that side of the game that could help you. And certainly, from my point of view, he helped my career. Playing international football, without a shadow of doubt, elevated me and helped me get the moves that I got to. After I was at Oxford at the time, then Jack came and watched me, brought me into the setup, and then I got my opportunity with Liverpool, Aston Villa, then Palace and Reading as my career started to move down a bit. But he certainly helped me along the way. He was a fabulous manager. So many stories about him, some that we can say and some that we probably can't say. But he was a true leader. He was, for me personally, he was brilliant for me. But only a few people in my life call me Raymond. and he was one of them.
And you're like, we'll let Jack call me Raymond.
Yeah.
Now, so moving on to the next slide, we have Ray or Raymond, but I'm going to call you Ray because I haven't heard the respect to call you Raymond. I'm definitely not going to try and start. But this is a picture from after the League Cup win with Oxford, I believe. It's Milk Cup at the time, was it?
Yeah, it was a Milk Cup. Yeah, that was an incredible journey. You know, I'm just looking at some of the players out there. Dave Langan, who played alongside me internationally.
Helped you get your Ireland start as well?
Well, it was him and John Aldridge.
Well.
Yeah, John Aldridge was the other ones because Jack actually came to. This season we played in the semi-final. We played Aston Villa away, and Jack came to watch John, and we drew the game 2-2. John scored at least one of the goals, and Jack then found out about myself that my dad was born in Buncrana in Donegal, and that I could play through my father. And he asked me that night, and the story sort of went along the lines. You know, would you like to come and join us? John had already said that he was willing to do so. I said, can you give me a few days? I want to go home and speak to my dad, speak to my two older brothers. And he said, yeah, not a bother. Well, I got home from the semi-final first leg about 2:30 in the morning. About 9 o'clock the following morning, and the phone went. And it wasn't back in the days when we didn't have mobile phones, it was your home phone. And it was Jack. And my wife said to me, Mr. Charlton's on the phone, and I was a bit surprised. So I picked up the phone and I said to him, how are you? Blah, blah, blah. I said, I thought you were going to give me a few days to think it over. And he went, no, I need an answer. And then I need it now. And I said, yes. And internationally, it was the best decision I made because of the success we had. But we won the second leg of the semi-final at home to Aston Villa. But the story about that was Robert Maxwell was our chairman, and he came in before the game, and he didn't have a great deal of knowledge about football. So we had a tactic board, and our manager, God rest him, is a fellow called Maurice Evans, and Maurice said to me, the chairman's going to come in and start talking about football. Just don't laugh, just let him say what he's got to say. And so he got up in front of everyone, and then he went, Houghton, and I had to stand up, and he said, right, when the opposition get a corner, I want you on the 16-yard line, not the 18-yard line, the 16-yard line. So you can imagine behind me the giggling from the players. And I'm just standing there looking at him. He says, the opposition will get a corner, they'll put the ball in, we'll head it out. You pick the ball up, run the length of the field with the ball and cross it, and Aldridge will score. And there you go. It was as simple as that.
And look what it was.
And then look at there, you see, it sounds like the chairman had it right at the time, but it was a great club. I've got a lot of respect for my time at Oxford United. Maurice Evans was brilliant for me, the manager, absolutely outstanding.
Maurice was assistant to Mick McCarthy later in his...
No. Maurice was manager at Reading back in the day, and then he was at Oxford. But Maurice, for me, as a manager, was brilliant. You know, he'd give you the license to go out and and express yourselves in the right way. I couldn't have thanked him enough back then for everything that he'd done for me. Gave me the platform of being in the team and going to Wembley, winning the trophy and scoring. I scored the second goal in the game, and it was a dream come true. When you're a youngster, what you do, you want to be a professional footballer. You want to try and play, in a major final, play at Wembley, and then you score. The first time I'd been there as a player was absolutely extraordinary. And no one expected us to be there. And we played QPR. QPR knocked Liverpool out in the semi-final. We knocked out Aston Villa. And no one expected us to get to either one of us to get to the final. And Jim Smith, another great manager who's no longer with us. Jim had just moved to Queen's Park Rangers from Oxford. And he tried to sign me for QPR, and then it all fell through, and I ended up going to Oxford. So it was one of them bizarre situations. And I was the only newbie at Oxford at the time. All them other players had played under Jim Smith the previous season. So it was great, and superb times, absolutely brilliant.
You were a record signing for Oxford at the time.
It wasn't a lot. I think it was 147,000, which I didn't. Which wasn't a lot of money, I would imagine, but. They took a gamble on me to come along, and thankfully it paid off for both myself, as I say, getting the opportunity and then winning the trophy and staying in the division for 2 or 3 seasons.
Yeah, that's brilliant. We might move it on to the next one there, lads, when you're ready. Now, this This photo is obviously the Irish team coming off the pitch at Wembley Stadium. It's in a qualifier, I believe, for Euro 92. You in the picture, you don't look too happy coming off the field, as Andy Townsend and Steve Saunton and some of the other guys. I think Frank Stapleton's there as well. It's like, is that one of the nights maybe that, when you think back in your career, that is that a night that maybe I think, oh, if only this went this way, or does it haunt you a bit maybe, or is that just completely parked and back there?
You actually see the picture of me coming off. I'm getting ready to run away because I'd missed an absolute sitter. Tony Cascarino would put me through. Yeah. The older I get, the further out I am. You know, like I'm about 40 yards out now when I missed the chance, but I was a lot closer than that. Yeah. And I tried to curl the ball in the bottom corner, and I just went past the post. Yeah. I should have done better. It was a really good opportunity, and we deserved to win on the night. We played some good football. We actually gave England no real chances in the game. We smothered them. There was a period in the first half where England couldn't go out their half. They couldn't do anything.
Good English team as well.
Yeah, we played really well that night.
Gascoigne was playing.
Yeah, it was a really good performance from us on that night. But I missed the chance, and I knew that Jack was going to have a few words with me about the said chance. So as I came off, I quickly jumped in the bath at Wembley, which for me, I could actually virtually get underneath it. It was about 5 foot deep. So, you know, for the likes of Quinny and all that, probably only up to his knees. But for me, I could get right underneath. Yeah. So I'm looking for Jack and I can't find him. He can't see me.
Snorkel there.
Well, I was looking round, so I got out. I quickly put on my tracksuit. Yeah. Still can't hear anything from Jack. Disappears out the dressing room, upstairs to the bar where my wife was and some family and friends. And it was a massive big bar. It was a huge big bar. And as I went in, I went and found, as I say, my wife, my family. And one of the first things my wife says to me, "How did you miss that chance?" I went, "Don't you start. I feel bad enough as it is." But then I knew there was going to be a problem. And then the doors at the back banged open. And there was the apparition, which was our manager, Jack Charlton. And obviously he was looking for me. So there's lots of people in there, you know, fans of both Ireland and England were in this massive big bar, and Jack's found me. His eyes are transfixed on me, and I can see him, and I'm standing over in the corner with a pint in my hand and all the friends and family around me, and people are going up to him, shaking hands. "Great result, Mr. Charlton," but he's sort of slightly dismissive because he just wants to get to me. And when he got over to me, well, I can tell you some of the words he used that night was quite choice. They went along the lines of, you could have been a hero again, a hero. You had the whole goal, and you missed it. You could have been a hero again, and that was in between. There was a lot of words that I cannot repeat.
Your wife is standing next to you when this
right next to me, and then as he walked away, my wife actually said to me, "Are you going to let him speak to you like that?" And I said, "After that miss, he can say what he wants to me."
But as you say, like it just showed you what the Irish team was capable of at the time, because you were going to Wembley against England, and this wasn't any ordinary England team.
No, yeah.
You had many talented players. Gascoigne coming into the fore. You had like many guys that you played against in '88 and even in 1990.
I'm not sure Gaz had played in this game. I think
played in that game.
I think they left him out. I'm pretty sure. I think they left him out. Yeah. I think who he played was Brian Robson played, and David Platt I think played in the game if memory serves. Yeah. So there was a different dynamic for them. I think they were, trying to. They knew it was going to be a real tough match against us. But this is a time where in this group stage we didn't lose a game. We drew with England twice. We drew them home and away. I think we beat Turkey both home and away. And there was another team that we played, Poland, where I think we drew 3-3 round about that time, and that was the game. That one and this one. If we were beat England at Wembley that night, we were qualified. Yeah. So we went through that whole campaign without losing the match, and it wasn't enough because only one team went through.
It's frustrating.
But it was very frustrating. You can see this as we walked off. Look at the faces of the players. There's no joy there, and normally when you go away if you played at Wembley before and you came off with a 1-1 draw, you'd be thinking happy days. Yeah. It's a good result, but we didn't, and we came away from that one thinking what could have been, and it was largely down to my miss quite late on in the game.
A mate of mine in Mullingar, Jerry Buckley, he goes to literally every Ireland game. I think anytime they qualify for major tournaments, he's there. He just said, "Can you ask Ray if Ireland qualified for Euro 92? could possibly Ireland have won the tournament?
You don't know, or you really don't know. I mean,
look
at Denmark; they went on to win it, didn't they?
Yeah,
they didn't even. They shouldn't have been in the tournament. Didn't qualify, but then they went on to win it.
Public issue, wasn't
but we didn't. You don't know. That's the honest truth about it. We don't know. All I would tell you at that stage, we were a hard team to play against. If you looked at our results, friendly-wise, competitive games, leading up to this and throughout, as I said, throughout the whole campaign, we didn't lose a match.
Yeah.
That's how tough we were. We were a really tough team to play against, and you look at the quality of the players that we had there as well. So it was a good time.
Young Dennis Irwin there.
Den played right back. Dennis, what a player he was. So brilliant. we had a really good team and a really good squad at that stage.
Yeah. I think we'll move on to the next one there, if that's okay. So we just want to talk about this stadium and how much it means to you. Obviously you played a number of years at Liverpool, but just to talk about Anfield, and obviously a lot of people talk about that famous Anfield atmosphere, and that it nearly gives the players an extra 5-10% on occasions. And just to talk about Anfield, what it means to you, as a lot of people make it out to be like cathedral of football, one of the iconic stadiums in Europe, if not the world.
Well, I feel very lucky and privileged to have played for Liverpool. When you're younger and you've had setbacks, knockbacks. So I had trials at QPR when I was 16, and I was deemed not good enough. And then you think you've got no chance of making it, and then you have a bit of luck. A friend of mine, Dennis Phillips, who was at school with me, got picked up by a West Ham scout, Bruce McLaren, Mac, as he was affectionately known. He just said to Dennis, is there anyone who's quite like you, Dennis? And Dennis just said, well, I've got a mate, Ray Houghton. And that's how I got my chance. Wow. That's how I got a bit of luck. Going to West Ham, training there on a Tuesday and Thursday night. And within the space of a few months, John Lyall, the old manager, had offered me a 1-year deal. And, then your career starts to take off. I got to Fulham and Oxford, and eventually to this fantastic stadium, which is Liverpool Football Club. But I knew all about them. The Liverpool were an iconic team long before I got there. They were an unbelievable side. Played some great football. I played against them. I'd played there for Fulham in the League Cup, where we drew 1-1. So I knew what the stadium is like, and I knew what the noise was like. But it's more than a club. When you go there, it's life. That's what it is to these supporters. It's their life. That's what their life revolves around Liverpool Football Club and what they do. And every moment they're thinking about what's the manager going to do, what's the team going to be. And it's only when you get there you realise, just what it's like. And don't forget, the city was so vibrant at that time, because Everton had just won the league, and Everton were a top side at that particular time. Right up there competing for the top trophies. Liverpool were a little bit in transition because Ian Rush was leaving. They brought John Aldridge in the January, and then at the end of that season, in the June I think it was, they brought in Peter Beardsley and John Barnes. So they were going for a transitional period, bringing in new players to try and implement maybe a different style, a different tactic, and I came in October. So coming into this club, I'd seen them play. I'd actually just not long played for Oxford against them, and we lost 2-0. Which was good for us, because I'd played there 3 times for Oxford. We lost 6-0, 4-0, 2-0. So we're going in the right direction as far as, the goals conceded was concerned. But it's an amazing place. It really is from day one. Very superstitious club. We had to go to the ground to get changed, and then get on a bus to go to the training ground, then come back, and you have your same places for your lunch, on match days, and certain people would have to go out first or second, and so it was a very superstitious club. But they were just used to winning, and I had 5 years at the club, and I was a pro for 20 years. And for all the other clubs, and they were great clubs and some great footballers I played alongside, but this club was very unique. And when you were playing for them, it wasn't a case of you were going to win, it was how many you were going to win by. And that wasn't arrogant, that was just what they were used to. They were used to winning. This was the mentality that they had. And it was an incredible place to play your football. Yeah, brilliant. Great memories there. We can move on to the next one there, lads. I just want to talk about a man that would have had a big impact on your career as well. It's Kenny Dalglish. Also was in Mullingar recently on a different occasion from when Ray, Steve and Ronnie were there. But just to talk about Kenny, and like even somebody was asking me, can
could you ask Ray about the difference between playing for Kenny than the difference of playing for Jack? Like, this is two obviously different tactics, different styles of football. You know, what was the difference between the two when you were playing for Liverpool and then going on international duty?
Well, they see the game a bit differently. You know, Kenny was much more because of the player that he was, and he knew what Liverpool were like and the players that they had. So it was about, you know, keeping possession of the ball, you know, and it was waiting for openings, being patient, don't just throw the ball forward, because that wasn't the Liverpool way. They were looking for an opening, because their thought process was teams will switch off. You know, the more you keep it, someone will switch off, and that's your cue to play the forward pass for a run. And, you know, the art of great management is knowing your players. That's what Kenny was brilliant. That's what Jack was like. Jack knew what his players was and his style of football, and he implemented what he wanted. Same with Kenny, you know, he gave you a platform to go and play from, but he knew within the group of players that he had what the talent was and the style of football that would suit them as a group. Winner, you know, you've seen that as a player, you've seen that as a manager. But that's what Jack was. Don't forget, Jack was a World Cup winner. You know, you don't get any bigger than that. You know, there's no leagues.
Yeah, Leeds United as well.
Yeah, and of course with Leeds. But you know, to win the World Cup, you're in a very, very selective group. There's not many that's done it. You know, there's been plenty have tried, but there's not been that many successful. No. But Kenny was an iconic manager, iconic player, and it was great when he was there. You know, he knew the game inside out. He didn't overcomplicate things. He was very trusting in the coaching staff that he had, and very trusting in the players that he had. He knew the job that they could do. One thing I think he had a hard time doing is try to pick the 11, because he had such a depth to the squad. You know, a brilliant squad. You know, I think, you know, everyone talks about squads today, and you're two players from each position. Liverpool had that back then, and probably a bit more. You know, but and don't forget, it wasn't when you know, like today, you make lots of changes. You know, your rotation of teams. Back then, that wasn't the case. If you were in the team, you know, you normally kept your position, and that was why it was so competitive in training, because you were trying to get into that starting 11.
Would you think that's a thing that's maybe over talked about nowadays, then, of chopping and changing, squad rotation and stuff? When back in the 90s, 80s, like, guys are playing the same position, same team, same game every week. They're playing. There's not much change in the starting line.
Yeah, I'm not a great believer in any of that anymore, because I think football's evolved in different ways. You know, players are more aware of the manager's going to make changes. You're going to rotate the squad, so they're ready. They're ready for that. They're ready from a young age. You know, even when you get 8, 9-year-olds now, 10-year-olds, 11-year-olds, and they're playing small-sided games. You know, even the managers at that level are rotating the teams around to give them minutes on the pitch. So they learn very, very young what that sort of side of things is, and then it just continues. You know, there's a lot of things that have changed in the game that didn't happen in my day. So I never hark back to it and say, oh, you know, back in our day we used to do this, and back, you know, that's the way it's evolved. That's just the changes in football. So I never really look too closely into that. You know, there's a lot of things that are different back then to it is now. So that's just how football's moved on.
And just to talk about the culture in the dressing room under Kenny, and you have the famous boot room in Anfield as well, like, and they say that's part of how it gives Liverpool its greatness, and this, like, being a special club and creating this culture and environment that then breeds winners. Then, like, I remember you speaking not so long ago about a story about being in the dressing room, just the crack and the banter in the dressing room, and maybe when you first arrived, that they said, "Oh, Ray, you can sit over there, and you sit in that chair, Ray, and that's all good." And can you just elaborate what that was about?
Yeah, what it was like, well, my first home game. We went to the Montenotte Hotel in Liverpool. That's where we used to go for pre-match meal. And as I said, you'd have certain seats they would sit in. You know, they were very superstitious for that. So I'm the newbie. I didn't know where to sit. So I came into the room. There was a big long table, and I said, "Where do I sit?" And the lad said, "Yeah, just sit in a chair there." And as I sat down, you know, I could feel that there was something wrong. There was a bit of a buzz around, and, you know, there was a few people saying, "Oh, this, that, and the other," and I could tell that there was a problem, but I couldn't work out what it was. So I automatically thought, because I had a shirt and tie on, that I'd spilt some of my pre-match meal down my top. So I'm looking at my top, and I'm thinking, well, you know, if I spilled egg down there, I think I had scrambled egg on beans on toast. So I'm looking down at a quick little look. There was nothing there, but I could sense there was still something wrong. And then the doors open at the far end, and then walks the manager straight over to the table where we were sitting. And his first words were, "You're sitting in my chair." And I thought, oh, goodness, what am I going to do here? And I can hear all the lads going, you know, he'll move. And I'm thinking, what did I do? This is the manager who brought me to the club. You know, this is the manager that, you know, got huge respect for. What am I going to do? And I thought, you know what, I'm going to sit here. So I said, I'm going to sit here. And he said to me, you sure? And he went, yeah. And I felt 10 foot tall until he went up and he named the team and he went, team is blah, 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 sub you. Don't ever sit in my chair again. So I was going to be sub anyway. That wasn't a part of the story, but it was just, you know, that was just the way it was. But that was the way they were. You were, as I say, very superstitious side, but great fun. You know, when I look back my 5 years there, I've got nothing but great memories of it, apart from obviously from Hillsborough and obviously what happened there.
No. But just to say about Kenny Dalglish as well, just when you said when the doors opened, it kind of just reminded me of Jack Charlton when he's coming through them doors in Wembley, coming looking for you and trying to talk to you about the game against England and what happened. It just seems, is that same aura that the two of them had?
Yeah, undoubtedly.
Respect.
Yeah, but I think, as I said to you earlier, there'd be certain people who would walk into your room and automatically you turn around because you knew something
Kenny
special.
had that as well.
Kenny had that, absolutely, 100%. He's got this gravitas about him. He's an iconic figure. He is Mr. Liverpool, isn't he? When you speak about Liverpool, Kenny's one of the first names up there, isn't he? Because of what he did as a player, as a manager. Obviously, you've got Bill Shankly, Bob Paisley, and more recently, you know, Jurgen Klopp. But Kenny's up there with the very elite. Without
Celtic, his achievements there.
Listen, he's done an unbelievable job up there,
as well.
Scotland. But I think he's renowned for what he did at Liverpool.
This is a picture from the England game as well, so we might just skip on to this one, but we'll probably just be talking about the same things again. This is a great picture now. So these are some of your Liverpool legends in this photo. I believe it was my charity or testimonial game. So you have Alan Hansen, Ian Rush, Aldridge, Steve McMahon, then yourself, of course, Ronnie Whelan and Steve Staunton, and then we have this man in the far.
Gary Ablett.
Yeah, Gary Ablett.
He's no longer with us.
God rest him as well.
Gary's not with us anymore.
Just talk about some of these characters.
Jeez, look at the size of us there. I think we all needed to go on a bit of a diet there. I should have put this picture up. No, you should have done. I can't even remember this one. But all I'd say is, what a great bunch of lads, though. You know, when you look through that team and what we had, it was absolutely incredible.
Talent as well.
Great talent, but winners. When I look, if one word you ask me to use, and that'd be winners. You know, that's what they've got right across the board. They're people who were used to playing at the very highest level, but could compete. You know, and not only that, you can get players who can play at the highest level, but it's that pressure playing for the biggest teams that they find that the most difficult to handle.
The jersey can wear heavy on you.
Not with these boys. Every one of them out there, they were absolutely phenomenal. You know, just a joy to play with. You know, they were extraordinary players, individuals, but great human beings as well. You know, every one of them were just great lads.
You got 4 Irish internationals there. You got Steve, yourself, Ronnie, and John.
And Aldo, yeah.
And just to talk about Ian Rush, obviously he's revered in Liverpool's history, like a phenomenal goal scorer. You know, just to talk about him a bit, like how good was it to play with him?
Ian had left and gone to Juventus when I came, and it was only a year or so afterwards that he came back. But you just know the talent that he had. Just have a look at his goal scoring record. It's absolutely unbelievable. But also with John Aldridge, you know, look at John's record at Liverpool was phenomenal. His overall record. For any team that he played for, he scored unbelievable amount of goals, always a real threat. But all I see is just players that look at the smiles on their faces, just love playing for Liverpool Football Club. You know, Alan Hansen, he was my roommate, Al. Well, I was his tea maker and go and grab his chocolate. We'd run down to the shop and get his chocolate for him, and you know, whatever he wanted, I'd be okay. I'll go and get it for you. I had a great time with him. You know, he was a
good roommate. Was
great roommate. Yeah, absolutely fantastic.
Would he say the same about you?
I hope so. I'm not sure.
I'm sure he would.
Hey, listen, if I was going to make him tea and run and get his,
couldn't have been too bad.
Couldn't have been too bad. Yeah, but
Fair.
A great individual, great captain, great leader. Can't speak highly enough of them. Can't speak highly enough of all of them.
Yeah.
You know, as I say, they're just a great bunch of lads, and what memories that we had and the time that I had.
In fact, it's a great bunch of lads. It just gives that camaraderie and that team spirit, and that can help on a day when you're losing 1-0, 5 minutes to go, you're shooting into the cop.
You knew. Like, listen, you knew, like, even in tight games, you could always rely on someone. You know, not everyone was going to play great, but you knew enough of them would. You know, and they'd pull you through it. You know, and listen, they'd tell you in no uncertain terms if you weren't playing well. You know, if you weren't doing the right things, they'd tell you. And that comes down to leadership. You know, there's so many leaders out there, competitors. Oh, there are competitors out there, but there's goal scorers. There's a bit of flair. But yeah, just a great bunch of lads.
Brilliant. We'll move on to the next one there, lads, if that's okay. So this is Giovanni Trapattoni. So managed Ireland, of course, famously, and I believe you were part of the group of guys that helped select Giovanni to get the Ireland job. So they kind of created a panel at the time, and you were one of the members of the panel. How did you think what was the process like, I suppose, as well, but how did you think that Giovanni's time in Ireland, how do you think he fared? He got us to the 2012 Euros, a very tough group. That's not that's just being honest. That was a very tough group. But how would you analyse that time and the appointment of Giovanni as Ireland manager?
Well, Don Gibbons, Don Howe and myself were targeted with going around and speaking to a variety of managers who were interested in the job. And I won't tell you who we all went to, because it would be right of me to speak about others. True. But there was a lot of very good managers that we went and spoke to about it. This was on the back of where I'd have to say the Ireland players were getting used to losing. That's how I perceived it. Yeah. You know, they were winning matches on enough matches. Maybe that winning mentality wasn't quite there. Yeah. So we wanted to bring in someone who had a winning mentality. And when you look at Giovanni's CV, he's absolutely incredible. You know, where he's been, what he's done. We actually went out to Salzburg to meet him. We went to his apartment there. He was managing out there, and he actually had an English, Italian phrase book, because his English wasn't that great. But it showed that he wanted the job. It showed that he cared. He'd done his homework, obviously he knew about Irish players, and he was talking about that when we spoke to him. And he wanted the job. And when you've got someone who wants the job and he's got a CV like his, then I think it was the right decision to bring him in. Yeah. And he certainly helped. I think, the players wouldn't have, prior to that, maybe not have worked under someone like him, who and his reputation, where he's been and where he's managed. Yeah. And we were hoping that was going to rub off on them, and it did. To the extent where we got qualification.
True, it is home and away.
We hadn't qualified since 2002. And then this is 10 years later. Then when he got us qualified, so we wanted to get that winning feeling back. We wanted the fans to get to the big tournaments. And also to go to the big tournaments. I think that was usually important. And he came back and did what he had to do. I found him a thoroughly nice man. I don't think anyone would have any qualms about that. Of course, he was stuck in his way of playing. There was a certain way he wanted to play, because that was what he's seen was going to get him results. And who you argue when you've got the qualification? That's he'll tell you he got it right.
And the group that he got, Spain and Italy were in the group, and they both went on to go to the final. So he didn't get.
You can't argue against with that at all. Yeah, exactly.
Croatia was the other team.
But he was when you look at him and you look what he was about, he was good for us at that particular time, because he got us qualified, got us believing again, and that was usually important.
And were you part of the process for appointing or helping to pick a manager after Giovanni had left?
We spoke to Martin as well, amongst others, and Martin once again was very interested in the job. He wanted to come on board, and I think the surprise was when he brought in Roy as his assistant. I didn't see that coming at a particular time. But then I didn't even know where the dynamic came from. I didn't know even they knew each other. Yeah. Both of them played for Nottingham Forest. That's as much as I knew him. But so they worked well together. They enjoyed it at the time, and obviously got us qualified for 2016 as well. So that's what it's all about. I mean, it's about bringing in people, getting the tournaments, getting the fans on side. Yeah, of course, we'd all love football to be much easier than that and easy on the eye, and everyone's playing lovely football, and we're passing out from the back, and we've got creative midfielders, and we've got goal scorers, and everything's going swimming. But that doesn't always happen. We're not. There's periods in your football and time as an international team where you're going to have highs and lows, particularly the smaller nations. The bigger nations, obviously, they've got more players to call upon. Well, in Ireland, we're competing against the GAA, the hurling, the rugby, the golf, and there's only a small pool of talent that you can call upon, and it gets diminished with all the other sports that the youngsters want to play. So there's a reason why maybe we're not bringing through the numbers that we would like, and or there's enough top class players coming through. So we just have to bide our time and make sure that we get the management side of it right, and get enough grassroots football and enough good facilities to give youngsters the opportunity. Yeah, but that's investments that are usually important.
Yeah, huge. Yeah. We move on to the next one, lads. We're not going to keep you too much longer. Now, this is obviously an iconic figure in Liverpool. Now, as you were saying, you were talking about iconic figures. You were talking about Kenny Dalglish. Well, this is another one now. And unfortunately for Liverpool fans, he's going to leave at the end of the season, or he says he is, unless he changes his mind. Who knows? Alex Ferguson did it one time, but I don't think that's going to happen on this occasion. But just to talk about Jurgen Klopp and the effect he's had on the club, like when he took them over and to now, like it's night and day, isn't it? Like,
well, I wouldn't go so far in saying night and day. I think I would be improper on the other managers that were there before, because Brendan Rodgers was not far away from winning the league, was he? And they played some good football as well under Brendan. But when you look at Kenny, Jack and Jurgen, there's an empathy with the fans. I think, some people might say with Jack, well, was he really in with the eye? I think he was. I think it took him a little while for him to get his point of view across. But I think the more tournaments he got to, the more the fans were on side with him. Yeah. They still would like to have changed the football. I understand that, I do get that. But with Jurgen, I think he came in from day one at Liverpool, and he said something that really stuck with me. He said, we'll win the league within 4 or 5 years. And, other managers come in and were hoping to do that, and it never worked out. He was true to his word, because he understood what the Liverpool public were about. He knew what the Liverpool fans wanted, and he got it right. His recruitment policy over the years has been fantastic. He got some really good people around him. I think that worked in his favour. He's a good delegator, so it's not always about him. He's had good assistants behind him. Pep Flinders at the minute. Pep Flinders at the minute. Pep's the one that does a lot of the training. Jurgen will come and watch, and he'll be the observer and see what's going on. But I think he works really well with people. He's a people person. But another one who's got this a thing about him where when he walks in anywhere, straight away you can tell that he's walked in.
Like we keep coming back to that.
There's certain people who've got it, special managers.
Alex Ferguson or
Alex, absolutely,
It just seems to be that reoccurrent. And now obviously not everybody has to have that, but you have Pep Guardiola, you have different type of managers, but a lot of them just seem to have this aura and this respect, and as you say, that character, and then that can transmit to the players, get the fans on side, and then hopefully eventually deliver success.
What I want from my manager when I was a player, I want to know he's in charge. That's what I want. I want to know he's in charge. Not just in charge, but he's making the decisions. He's making the decisions about me as a player, and regardless whether you're a big character or not. You said about Pep Guardiola. What manager he is, though. He might not be out there, and he might not be like other managers. But he is the manager. When I look at him, I know he's in charge. And I know with Jurgen, he's in charge. There's certain people that you can see who's got that ability about them, and he's certainly one of them. He's going to be a huge loss. There's no doubt about it. But I can understand, that he's been in management, but for I think he had 7 or 8 years at Mainz, and then 7 or 8 years at Dortmund, and 9 years at Liverpool. So he's had no break. He's going straight from a player into management, and maybe it's just run its course at the moment, and needs a little break from football. The thing you'll have, though, I'm sure his family will be overjoyed to have him, like most days of the week. But when you finish playing, You know, it's great. You go, I'll do this and I'll do that, and I'll go and play golf and whatever sports you like and whatever you want to do. I'll go and do it. I'll go and watch this. But then after 3 months, you're like, well, I've done that, but what happens next?
Where's the spark?
And that's where, you know, he'll be looking at what he wants to do next. But just for what he's done at the club, and you know, the pathway that he's got from youngsters getting into the first team, he's never been afraid to put them in the team. But for me, it's been his recruitment, his management skills, but most importantly, his empathy with the fans. I think that's really been one of the great things that he's done. He's got the fans on side, got them believing again that Liverpool can be very competitive. And but for Man City and how good they've been, and City having won Premier League title, he could have had easy 3 or 4 because they've been that close on occasions, and Man City have just been a little bit better.
I think we move on to the next one. I think this could be the last one, so we're not going to hold you much longer. So this is, I suppose, just this picture is Matt Doherty, Evan Ferguson, and Callum Robertson. So it just, and obviously this was at the launch of the new jersey for Ireland. So it's just really, I suppose, talking about the future. What you think Ireland needs in terms of, I know you've been involved and helped with the processes of appointing managers before, or helping to select candidates that you think might be suitable for the job. But what do you think this Irish team needs at the moment? Obviously, John O'Shea, an Irish legend, and will do a fine job interim, and who knows, might get the job full-time as well. But what do you think Ireland needs as a manager now?
Well, I think we need someone to come in. I've changed a little bit, only because of, I think that players have changed. I think, you know, going back and bringing in Giovanni Trapattoni worked back then. I'm not sure it worked today. I don't think, you know, having a much more experienced manager works for the younger players. I think the younger players are very happy with a younger manager, you know, someone who might know them a little bit more. So we'll see how that develops. I would like the FAI to make a decision, though, one way or the other, because I don't think it helps the players. It's indecision there, and they'll know there's indecision. So when they come into the squads, they'll have the utmost respect for John. You know, he's a fantastic lad. I've spoke to him many times. You won't hear anyone say a bad word about John O'Shea. He's a top lad, and you know, he wants to make a future as a manager in the game. And who knows, if things go well in the next couple of games, it might get that opportunity. But I'd just like to see him being a little bit more decisive in what they want to do, because the players need that as well. And as for the players, what they're looking for is just to qualify. That's what you want. You know, that with the qualification comes, you know, everything that you've wanted to achieve. All these lads love playing for the country. And every one of them loves being an international footballer, but they want to win. You know, they want to get. They want what others have done before them. You know, they want to be at these big tournaments. You know, they want to showcase their talent there. What we need, we have to learn to, you know, score a few more goals, because
it does help.
Well, predominantly, if you looked at us over the last few seasons, it's been set plays that have got us goals. You know,
Shane Duffy. At the
we need to just learn to get in the box a little bit more often. You know, gamble a little bit more from that point of view. I know international football, you're always worried about overcommitting and just getting numbers behind the ball and protecting. But there are occasions when you've got to think of, you know, football's a game of chance. It's a gamble. You know, you're trying to play a ball for. You're not trying to give the ball away. You're trying to play the right ball. You're just hoping that, you know, that's the right ball with the right runner. And maybe people are not playing that pass because they're a little bit fearful of giving it away, and maybe the reaction of the crowd, or maybe you know, the reaction of the manager saying, "Oh, just keep it." But I'd just like to see he's been a little bit more positive in that final third, where delivery of the cross, delivery of the pass, the running of the centre forwards, and the movement that they make, be a little bit more decisive. I never get too high or low when I watch Republic play, because I think it's wrong to do that. I don't think, we're doing brilliant or we're doing really poorly. I'm one that sits in here, you know, because I understand what can happen at international football. You know, one week, you know, one match you're brilliant, next match, you know, people think you're not very good. So they've just got to try to do the best that they can, game after game after game. And I think with fans, personally, what I've seen over the years, as long as you are 100% attitude and commitment, and you show that game after game, fans will stay with you. They'll buy into what you're doing. You know, they'll understand the vagaries of football, that, you know, you can, you know, have a bit of misfortune and lose a game, or whatever the case may be. But as long as you're trying, they'll be more than happy to put up with.
Yeah, there's some exciting players there as well.
Yeah,
you have Mikey Johnson, who's
Mikey's
obviously
doing brilliantly at West Brom.
Scottish-Irish connection then as well. And
Chidozie Ogbeni at Luton. You look at you. And don't forget, people talk about Stephen Kenny, but these lads, and it's a bit like myself, maybe not playing at a level what they are playing now. But if you look at them, Chidozie went from Rotherham to Luton.
Yeah.
Mikey was really out. The Celtic setup wasn't getting a game, and now he's doing wonders at West Brom. There's a lot of lads that lads that have got promoted, or unfortunately have been now got relegated with Burnley. But they've had some. Josh had his chance with Burnley this season in the Premier. Darryl Shea, who'd moved from West Brom to Burnley in the Premier League. And then there's others that have done well, and I think there's more players who've played in the Premier League this season than maybe 2-3 seasons ago. So it shows you progress. It shows you as a player, playing at international level, how it can enhance your career. And the lads should never forget that either. It can be self-promoting, and it's a good opportunity for others, to come and watch you and see what you can do at an international level. So, I'm hopeful. Always hopeful. Always want them. Come along and watch the games, and always hopeful that they're going to do well, and hopefully they'll qualify for a big tournament soon.
Yeah, fingers crossed. I just want to ask you about a story when you were playing for Ireland, and I believe the following evening you were going to play Austria in a playoff, but Jack decided on the night before you were going to training at Lansdowne that you would stop off and get some fish and chips. Was it in Harry Ramsden's?
Yeah, we went to Harry Ramsden's, and we actually, not only that, we went to a couple of supporters clubs beforehand, and we ended up in places that no one even knew about. I'm not sure the people even knew we were coming. But one place we were in, it was about three people in there, and that was it. And the barman sort of said, we walked into the club and said, "What are you doing here?" sort of thing. I think we went to the wrong one. And then we had to train afterwards. So we went to Harry Ramsden, and then we went training. You can imagine trying to run around.
Shares in Harry Ramsden?
I don't know about that. I don't know if
these are all these folklore you hear.
Yeah, I don't think he did. But whatever it was.
Yeah.
So we went there, and then we went training, and then we played the following day after being at Harry Ramsden's. I think it was on the Tuesday. So we played Austria on the Wednesday. I think I scored to make it 1-0, and that upset them. And then they came back and beat us 3-1. I think Tony Polston was one of the main players for Austria back then, and then he scored some goals for them that night. But one of them things.
It's one of these stories that grows over the years, and it sounds funny, like an Irish team going into Harry Ramsden's.
Yeah,
there's stories of Gary Kelly doing the Harry Ramsden challenge.
I don't think it certainly wouldn't happen today. That's for sure. Yeah,
that is for sure. Well, thanks a million, Ray. You've
Pleasure.
been an absolute chance.
Thank you, pal.
Great to meet you, and best of luck with your gig tonight in the Cork Opera Hall, not the Sydney Opera House.
Oh, you go.
So we get
very close.
Very close. Thanks a million, Ray.
That's it. Cheers.